one of the things that teachers still, because they clearly haven't seen the meme of the shaking head where it says, no, I do not have a list of words for you to study, because that is not inspiring curiosity. But friends, use the words that are at your fingertips. So if you're using UFly, for example, or any other structured phonics program that has, wait for it, a list of words that you're exploring on the regular, pick one of the words. You already have a list of words in front of you. Don't work any harder than you have to. Pick one of the words. From there, brainstorm all the words with your students, the words that would be in the word family. And then once that's up on the board, you're going to have them pick 3 words and write the word sums for you. And then you can collect them. Like if it's on a piece of paper, you could have them do it on whiteboards. You could have them do it on their own, and then they have to read the word sums to their neighbor and the partner, remembering that every time that we read the word sum, we're spelling everything out loud. So in this particular instance, if I'm writing 3 word sums and my partner has written 3 word sums, in the course of our sharing, I will have heard how to spell WORK at least 6 times, plus the 6 other times on the other side of the arrow where it spells out the other word in the word family. So we're hearing WORK at least 12 times in the sharing conversation as they read the word sums to one another. So this is another reason why we love this work, right? The spelling is just, it's over and over and over again, to the point where you have to pause and be like, is that how I spell work? Because I've now spelt it that way so much that it looks wrong. Okay. So use the words that you have at your fingertips. Okay. That's the little tidbit that I got for you. Okay. I need to soapbox about 2 things. Let's talk about the word does. The word does has a bad rap. It is often mentioned as irregular. Poor does. It's living in jail with all the other jail words. And in fact, there's nothing irregular about the word does. Nothing. So when we look at the DO family, because that's where does is coming from, we can look at all sorts of words. Notice, of course, that it can include contractions if that's something that you're teaching your students. But let's talk about why it isn't irregular. Okay, so the word does. We look at the family, we look at how it's built. Okay. If I think of the word does, and the O is making that sound, can you think of other words in English spelling where the O is doing that? Well, yes, we can. Front, some, love, glove, one, oven, sun, done. The O makes this sound in other words. It's what it does. So nothing irregular to see here. Can you think of other instances where we have the end sound here making the z that we hear in does? Yes, we can. Moves, boxes, heroes, pushes. 2 totally normal bits in English spelling and English phonology, pronunciation. But yet, for whatever reason, poor does. And I think it's because we often pair it with goes. And goes, for whatever reason, seems more logical. I guess because maybe the base, go, and then we add goes, and we don't have a pronunciation change across the family. But when we go does, we have that pronunciation change. But we know that that's totally normal across a morphemic family. And so there's really nothing odd happening here other than our insistence that it is odd. That's my first soapbox. Here's my second soapbox. Someone had asked me about the word because, and this is not a magic pill. So this little thing is not the solution to every because spelling. So yes, NE is a suffix. Cindy, yes, it is. Now, kids spell because all sorts of irritating ways. I don't for one hot second think that this is like the silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems. It's probably a really bad educational analogy. The magic solution that's going to solve all the problems. But I think maybe having this conversation as a fallback point to force them to correct their spelling might work. Just remember, you have to have more resolve than they do. So the original meaning of because is by cause. I love that. Why did that happen? Well, by cause of this. Why are you going over here? By cause of that. And so when we can see that cause is the root word of because, it changes the conversation a little bit, I think. First, we know that pronunciation changes happen across morphemic families, like within a word family. So that part's not super weird. And we can look at what we know about the grapheme phoneme correspondence with the word cause as a strategy to help with spelling. So the B part should be managed because it's really straightforward. BE spells B. Okay, so now we're at the cause part of things. I don't know how many arrows I added here. So can we think of other words where AU is making that ah sound? And we can in words like fault, caught, launch. Okay. Then we have the Z cause by cause. Well, when I hear a Z sound at the end of the word, we know that if we were wagering enthusiasts, we would bet on that sound be coming from an S. If the Z sound is at the end of a word, it usually is the result of an S. Okay, so let's say they get that far. They have the C, they have the AU, because we can think of other words where the AU is saying ah, and then we have the Z sound at the end, and so we write an S. Well, at that point, we can also remind them that we try to avoid ending complete English words in a single S, so it's not confused with a plural. And in order to stop it from being confused with a plural, we slap an E on the end. So, long story short, the spelling of because, if you remember, it's by cause, that can separate out the cause part of the family that we can do some really smart grapheme phoneme mapping to figure out the spelling pieces there. And then the B part is pretty straightforward because BE, B. Again, this isn't going to solve all the problems, but there's something to be said about knowing it means by cause. I just think that's brilliant. Any thoughts or questions there before I get rolling on the last 5 minutes? No? Okay. Now, I had lots of fun with this, friends. Sometimes the robot overlords can be used for good instead of evil. So let's say you were looking at a particular affix. It's time to zoom into an affix. Now, one of the concepts that kiddos need to explore, I believe it's in grade, thanks, Crystal, have a great evening. I believe it's grade 4, but I could be wrong, where they have to look at DIS as a prefix. Maybe it's grade 5. Anyway, so all I did was go into the good old Chat GPT and said, can you please write me a short paragraph that features as many words with the prefix DIS and still have it make sense? And this is what it spit out for me. You could do this with any affix. And so I would ask them if they happen to know what kind of morpheme we were going to explore today. And we would hope they'd be able to pick out that a lot of these words have DIS at the beginning. So we think that's going to be the prefix we're talking about. This is what I would ask them to do. Working with the partner, pick at least 3 words that appear to use DIS as a prefix. How are the words built? Write the word sums. Then ask them, does DIS in the words that you've picked have the same meaning or sense in all of them, or is it different? And if you're not sure, you can obviously visit Edum Online, because as you look at the different words, it'll tell you what the DIS means or has that sense of. And then extend it, pick one of those, one of the three, and then further build out the family. What you're hoping your students will discover is that there are at least 4 different meanings or senses that DIS is used for. So it can mean lack of or not. It could mean opposite of or do the opposite of. It could mean apart or away, or it can act as an intensifier, meaning like completely. I'd like to describe the intensifier as like a little cheerleader that says, yeah, a lot, whatever the base is. And that's what its role is. So it doesn't actually have a meaning. It's just intensifying that base. So weirdly enough, my husband sent me a meme because he knows I liked, he knows that I like word facts. And so he sent me one about gruntled, that gruntled really is a word. And now, Greg, you've got me wondering. I got to pull up the right screen here, because I could be wrong. So gruntle is related to grunting, like grumbling. And so it's related to complaining. So gruntled does not mean happy. It means gruntle. It means grunting. And so disgruntled is very grunting, very grumpy. So we want our kiddos to start understanding that sometimes our prefixes can have multiple meanings. And then once they've tuned into this, now it's on them. So you need to go out as you're reading, and if you find another word that could be added to our collection of words that has a DIS prefix, you're going to write it on your sticky note, probably with the word some, and we're going to add it to a collection. And then at some point, we're going to revisit this collection and make sure that the words that we've all picked actually fit, and that we haven't picked a word where DIS is actually just part of the word. And I'm not going to say one off the top of my head in case it actually is a prefix. I was going to use the word distance, but now I think that distance might be an example of one where DIS means apart, and the stance is standing. Because of course it is, Charlie. Oh, this is why I can't think of things on the fly. You get the idea, though. We're going to review the concept again at another time based on the words they have collected. So it doesn't always have to be you doing all the thinking. Task the tiny humans with doing some thinking. So the next time you're listening to a song or a podcast, tune into the words that you're listening to. Pick one. Check out what words are in the family. See what surprises you. I look forward to hearing more about it.